Hi, you're on the Reddit Confessions channel. The bathroom door was locked again. I stood there like an idiot, holding her vitamin drink in one hand and my last thread of patience in the other. I knocked twice. "Just a minute," she called out, voice flat, like she wasn't hiding from me again. I looked at the digital clock on the oven. 7:12 a.m., according to the document she emailed me last Sunday. Yes, emailed me from 10 feet away on the couch. I was allowed to initiate a morning gesture no later than 7:15. Past that, she said it threw off her emotional focus window. The document was titled Emotional Access Agreement Q4. It was real. Bullet points, timestamps, disclaimers. I checked. Touch was allowed 3 times a week, but only if earned. The word earned was bolded, underlined. I used to be her comfort zone. Now I needed calendar clearance to hold her hand. Her name's Daphne. She started therapy, journaling, cold plunges, and following some guy named Clay on Instagram who talks about energy boundaries and earning intimacy through masculine discipline. Me, I work for a hardware supply company and cry when I watch dog rescue videos. I don't scream, don't cheat, don't disappear for hours. I refill the Brita and fluff the couch pillows before she comes home, but apparently none of that earns Tuesday cuddles anymore. Back to the bathroom. She came out finally, wearing her sage green robe and zero eye contact. I held out her drink, ginger lime, extra cold. "You said you like it when it's—" She walked past me. "Thursday isn't a contact day," she muttered. "You're off schedule." I stood there blinking. Off schedule, like I was a missed delivery. That's when I walked straight to my laptop. I didn't even sit down, just typed with shaking hands and an empty heart. Opened our shared banking app. Transferred our joint checking funds into my personal savings. Froze. Removed her name from the Amazon Prime family plan. Yes, even that. Then I drafted my own document. I called it Financial Boundaries, effective immediately. Bullet points, timestamps, disclaimers. Her copy was waiting in her inbox before she finished brushing her teeth. When she read it, she didn't speak for a full minute. Then came the sarcastic laugh. "Is this some kind of revenge?" she said, arms folded, voice sharp. I shrugged. "Balance. Isn't that what we're doing now?" She slammed the fridge hard, said something about immature reactions, then stormed into the bedroom, not to cry, but to text. And I swear I caught a glimpse of the name at the top of the screen. Clay. The same Clay who posts about earned vulnerability and sacred self-prioritization. The same Clay who once sent her a voice memo that ended with, "You're more radiant every week." D. I never thought I'd say this, but that was the moment I started suspecting that energy boundaries had a body and a smirk. She didn't speak to me for 2 days. That's not an exaggeration, not a passive-aggressive silence, not sulking, just nothing. She moved around the house like I was a coworker she didn't like. Every now and then, she'd drop a fork louder than necessary or close the bathroom door hard enough to shake the hallway picture frame. But words, no. On day 3, I found her standing at the kitchen counter, staring at her phone. She didn't notice me at first. I leaned against the door frame and watched her expression twist. Not angry, but nervous. She tilted the screen away when she realized I was there. That alone set off every alarm in my chest. I asked, "Everything okay?" She blinked, smiled too fast, and said, "Yeah, Clay just sent a quote about emotional anchoring. You wouldn't get it." She was right. I wouldn't. I didn't want to get it. I wanted to know why her fingers trembled when she locked her screen. Later that night, while she was in the shower, her iPad buzzed. I know I shouldn't have, but I looked. I wish I could say I found something obvious, a confession, a picture. But what I found was worse. A group chat titled Energy Alignment Circle, filled with posts from women and one man named Clay, her coach. Except the messages didn't feel like coaching. They felt like flirting wrapped in spirituality. Clay, you're glowing again today. D. That robe photo. Wow. Brina, it's that green one I told you about. Winking face. Play. Save that energy for our next session. I want to go deeper this time. Real deep. My hands went numb. My throat burned with something that wasn't anger. It was humiliation. I was being outcharmed by a man who charged $150 per hour to say things like, "Honor your radiance." And she was responding. That night, I didn't confront her. I couldn't. I just lay in bed next to her, wondering how long I'd been replaced by emojis and affirmations. She kissed my shoulder once before falling asleep. Her first touch in over a week. I didn't respond. It felt fake, scripted, like part of some new schedule I hadn't earned yet. But I wasn't planning to play by her rules anymore. So the next morning, I made a list, not of points to earn, but of questions. I was done wondering. And question one was, what exactly happens during these private coaching sessions when I'm not home? I called the coaching center the next day. I didn't plan to. I just stared at the number on their website for hours while chewing the same piece of gum until it dissolved into paste. The receptionist sounded chipper, too chipper for someone working at a place that teaches people how to dismantle their marriages through boundaries. I asked if I could confirm a session for my wife. She said, "Sure. What name?" I gave Brenna's full name and held my breath. She confirmed 3 upcoming sessions, 1 on Zoom, 2 in person. Then, without me even asking, she added, "Would you like to pay now? Or will Brenna continue using Clay's partner discount?" Partner discount? I couldn't breathe. I didn't even ask what partner meant. My imagination filled in everything I didn't want to hear. I hung up and sat in the laundry room for 30 minutes, staring at the blinking light on the dryer like it held answers. When Brenna came home that evening, she was glowing. That kind of fake glow people get when they're carrying around a secret they think makes them powerful. She kissed me on the cheek. She hadn't done that in weeks and said, "Thank you for giving me space. Clay says it's helping me return to myself." I nodded like a spineless idiot. I nodded while my heart pounded in my throat and I tasted metal. And then she handed me a book. Not a gift, a requirement. Clay wants both partners to read this before next month. If we're aligned, we can graduate to the next level. Graduate. Was this a relationship or a seminar? The title of the book? Earned Love. Removing Entitlement from Affection. I wanted to scream. Instead, I smiled, took the book, and went to the garage. I didn't come back for 2 hours. I just sat there with Murphy, our dog, who at least didn't need me to earn his affection. But while I was out there, something strange happened. A text popped up on Brenna's iPad. I'd left it in the garage by mistake when I was looking for a charger the day before. The message was from Clay. It read, "Delete the last voicemail. He can't hear that one." I didn't sleep that night. The message kept flashing in my mind like a warning light I could no longer ignore. Delete the last voicemail. He can't hear that one. I stared at the iPad, heart pounding, unsure if I had the courage to press play, but curiosity is cruel and silence is worse. So, I slipped into the garage again, plugged in my earbuds, and opened the Voice Memos app. There it was. No label, no context, just a 2-minute recording. I hit play. At first, it was just static and breathing. Then Clay's voice, softer than usual. "D, I know you're scared he's going to catch on, but you're not doing anything wrong. This is your freedom. He'll adjust or he won't. Just remember, you owe him nothing. Not your guilt, not your clarity. If he loved you, he'd already be gone. I sat frozen. Then came her voice. Brina, laughing softly, intimately. I just wish I could tell him it was never about us, that it stopped being about us the moment I realized I had options. That word options, like I was a backup plan, like I was the life vest she didn't want to wear anymore. She didn't say my name once in that recording. I was just he, like some old obligation she was too polite to discard out loud. I didn't cry. I wish I had. Crying would have been easier. Instead, I felt a strange calm, the kind you only feel right before something breaks. I deleted the voicemail, not because I wanted to protect her, but because I couldn't stand to hear her voice again. The next morning, she smiled like nothing had happened. She made a smoothie, asked how I slept, and even complimented my shirt. I nodded and said nothing. Inside, everything was screaming, but on the outside, I was just still. That night, I emailed Clay. I didn't threaten him. I didn't curse. I just said, "You told her she had options. So, do I?" I didn't expect a reply, but what I got the next day made my stomach turn. He replied with just one sentence. "Then you should probably check the hotel receipts from her birthday weekend." And just like that, I realized something even worse. This wasn't a fantasy. This wasn't emotional flirtation. This was real physical. And I had proof waiting for me. I didn't ask Brina about the hotel. I just waited until she left for one of her clarity walks, which now took 2 hours and required makeup and perfume. While she was gone, I pulled out the folder where we kept shared account statements. I hadn't looked through it in months, mostly because I trusted her to handle budgeting. Stupid, I know. It didn't take long. There it was, an envelope marked Birthday Weekend, Sedona. I opened it, expecting spa bills, maybe a restaurant receipt. What I found instead made my ears ring. 2 nights at a boutique resort, 1 room, king bed, 2 breakfast charges on both mornings, and a spa appointment for 2 under the name D. Wren. That's not her name. It's not mine either. It's his, Clay. I felt like I'd swallowed something sharp. My hands went cold. I flipped through the remaining papers and found a printed itinerary. She had highlighted their dinner reservation, 7 p.m., at a place called Emberstown. I remembered that night. She told me the resort had no cell reception and that it was a personal retreat. No distractions. I had stayed home and fed the dog. She had eaten Camelot shrimp pasta with her spiritual soulmate. The sound of the garage door opening startled me. I shoved everything back into the folder and ran upstairs like a guilty teenager. Not because I was doing anything wrong, but because I suddenly felt small, like the kind of person people lie to because they know he won't do anything about it. She came in humming. Humming. I wanted to scream. Did he hum with you too? But instead, I asked, "How was your walk?" She smiled. Refreshing. Play says movement helps unstick the soul. Unstick the soul. I clenched my jaw so hard it clicked. That night, I didn't sleep in our bed. I took the couch. She didn't even ask why. Didn't offer a blanket. Didn't say goodnight. Maybe she thought I was just resetting my emotional routine, but I wasn't resetting anything. I was rethinking everything. And the next morning, I booked a one-on-one session with Clay under a fake name. I didn't sleep the night before the session. I didn't eat either. My body felt like it was running on stale coffee and panic. I created a fake profile under the name Julian, booked a virtual consultation with Clay, and paid his outrageous fee with a prepaid card. I told Brina I had a late work call. She barely nodded, too busy journaling something about release and elevation. When the session began, I didn't know what I expected. Maybe some smug, bearded guy with a gong in the background. But what I saw instead was worse. He looked normal, Polished, warm eyes, soft voice, perfect lighting. He greeted me like he'd known me for years. "Hi, Julian. I'm so glad you chose to show up for yourself." My skin crawled. I played the part, told him I was struggling with a wife who had grown distant. He leaned in like a therapist. "She might be finding herself," he said. "Sometimes love isn't about holding on. It's about letting go of old roles." Roles, right? Like husband. I asked about boundaries. I asked how he handles emotional overlap with clients. He smiled. "Transparency is everything. You hold space, you guide, but you never exploit." I wanted to laugh. Instead, I said, "What if the client's husband found hotel receipts? What if he heard a voicemail?" His smile didn't move, but his eyes twitched. Just for a second. "I think we're getting off topic," he said, adjusting his headset. "No," I said, voice cracking. "I think we're finally on it." He stared at me, then exhaled. "Listen," he said carefully. "Whatever you think you found, don't weaponize it. That's the old paradigm. She's growing. She didn't mean to hurt you. She just outgrew you. Outgrew me like I was a pair of shoes from college." She finally tossed. I ended the call before I said something I couldn't take back. But the damage was done. Clay had confirmed everything. Not directly, but enough. Enough to know that whatever growth Brina was chasing, it didn't include me. And yet, I still didn't confront her. Not yet. Because that night, something else happened. Murphy barked at the door. I checked the window and saw Brina getting out of Clay's car. She didn't see me watching. That part was important. I stood behind the curtain in the upstairs hallway, just enough of an angle to catch her face in the driveway. She was smiling. Not the polite, clipped smile she gave me at dinner, but a full, open smile like someone finally relaxing into who they really were. Her hair was messy. Her hand brushed Clay's shoulder before she stepped out of the car. She even laughed at something he said before the door closed. She didn't see me, but I saw enough. When she came inside, I was already in the kitchen pretending to scroll through emails. She dropped her keys in the bowl and kissed the top of my head like I was a golden retriever she appreciated for being loyal, but didn't really love. "Long meeting?" I asked. She paused. Traffic was bad. Traffic at 9:40 p.m. from a meeting she never told me about. I nodded, swallowed my rage like medicine and said, "Hope it was productive." She smiled. It was exactly what I needed. That night, she forgot to lock her phone. She never did that. I waited until she fell asleep. Her back turned, breathing steady, and slipped it off the nightstand like a thief in my own home. There were no texts from Clay. Nothing suspicious. She was too smart for that now. But in her photo archive, tucked behind filtered brunch selfies and gym progress shots, was a hidden folder titled Energy Work. I clicked it. There were 6 pictures, all recent. 2 of them were selfies of her with Clay, shirtless, sweaty, standing next to an outdoor sauna. The third was worse, a close-up of their hands, fingers intertwined, his thumb brushing hers. The others, too intimate to explain without choking on embarrassment. Not explicit, but intimate. The kind of photos people take when they think they're safe. I didn't cry. I couldn't even feel sadness anymore. Just this sharp, hollow ache behind my ribs. I put her phone back, crawled into bed, and whispered into the dark, "You erased me." And the next morning, I knew what I had to do. No confrontation, no dramatic speech, just clarity and a plan. I didn't leave right away. The next morning, I made her coffee just like I always did, but I left a printed photo next to the cup, one of the ones from the Energy Work folder. No note, no explanation, just silence. She didn't say a word when she saw it. She just stared at the image, her face draining like someone watching a slow-motion car crash they caused. Then I said it. I know. She looked up, her mouth opened, but no sound came out. I didn't wait for excuses. I didn't want to hear about chakras or clarity or whatever buzzword she'd learned to hide behind. I just walked to the living room, grabbed my bag, and called Murphy to follow me. He wagged his tail like it was just another walk, but we didn't come back. I stayed at a friend's guest house for a while. It was quiet, smelled like paint and new furniture, but I slept better in those first 2 nights than I had in months. I stared at ceilings that didn't hold the weight of lies. I walked Murphy without looking over my shoulder. And one day, sitting on a cheap patio chair with my laptop, I opened a blank document. I called it, "Touch is Not a Reward." It wasn't a manifesto. It was me writing everything I had bottled up about the spreadsheets, the silence, the gaslighting disguised as growth. I posted it anonymously to a forum. Didn't expect anything. But people read it, and they responded. Some laughed, some cried, some said, "I thought I was the only one." And for the first time in months, I felt something I hadn't felt in forever. Seen. Weeks later, Brenna sent a long email. Not begging, not angry, just full of regret. She said she confused structure for healing. Said she didn't realize she was rewriting the rules of a game I never agreed to play. She ended with, "I'm sorry I made love conditional." I didn't respond, because now, for the first time, I'm setting my own terms. And guess what? They don't include earning basic decency. I'm not angry anymore. I'm just free. That's the end of my story. If you've ever had to walk away from someone who turned love into a contract, I want to hear your story too. Drop it in the comments. What part of my journey hit you hardest? The spreadsheet, the voicemail, or the final silence? You've been watching Reddit Confessions, where the truth doesn't ask for permission. See you in the next one.